You know what really makes us mad? Is wasting money on CDs with only one or two good songs.
Yeah. Tell them about punk.
What's up, posers? Welcome to Punk Lotto Pod. I'm your co-host, Justin Hensley.
I am your other co-host, Dylan Hensley.
And this is the show where we assign our guests a year, and they choose one punk, hardcore, emo, or punk-adjacent album from that year for us to talk about. Today, we are talking to Scott Hicks of the band Totally Slow. They're a Greensboro, North Carolina band. They just released their new album, Casual Drag, on Refresh Records. It's a fantastic, fast-paced punk rock record that borrows from, I mentioned it a little bit in the little interview section, but the San Diego Jehu Pitchfork family tree kind of crossed with, adolescent-style hardcore and some gray matter DC hardcore. Really, really good stuff. And what are we talking about today, Dylan?
We are talking about the year 1988 and the record Field Day by Dag Nasty, the third LP by the legendary DC hardcore band. Emo-core, I guess you would call it. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if you would call this record emo-core. I don't know what you call this record, but we'll get into it.
Yeah.
And if you want some more of our goofy, divergent conversations, head on over to the Patreon. For $1, you get access to all of our bonus audio. For $10, you can choose an album for us to talk about. What are we talking about on Patreon this week? Oh, that's right. We've been doing these Last FM 5x5s, and I think we're kind of gonna adjust that.
Yeah, we're gonna tweak that format, largely due to the fact that I don't think I can fill a 5x5 in time to record it. My listening has been much more sporadic, so it'll just be what we've been listening to.
Mm-hmm. Doing a 5x5 too, it kind of messes with some of the other things we do for the show. So some of the special episodes or the album listening gets trickled in there. So it's probably just going to be more of a what you've been listening to. So you can do all that over on patreon.com/punklautopod. We're on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, @punklautopod. Email address, punklautopod@gmail.com. Voicemail 202-688-PUNK. And Substack, punklautopod.substack.com.
Hopefully I will write something for the Substack soon. I was just thinking about this week, feeling kind of hard on myself for how I've struggled into getting into my routine since moving. I'm I don't know what's going on. I've been here 3 months. I feel like I should have been able to get into a better routine. But I was realizing my life has kind of flipped entirely from the last 4 years where I was working pretty much morning day shift, to working almost the complete opposite. So I'm going to be a little more gentle on myself and say it'll take as long as it needs to. And that's my little Bob Ross feel good send out for everyone. Just be gentle with yourselves.
Yeah, I have to remind myself that too sometimes whenever I'm I got all this to do. I've got all this homework to do, but I've got to do the podcast and go to the dentist and the vet. It's just all this stuff piling on at one time, and I'm it's so much. It's I don't have to do some of this stuff, so cut myself some slack. But that's a weird little thing we never do on this part of the show, but okay, here we are.
Yeah, I don't know. Felt weird. Felt like we should go into this episode with as positive feelings as possible.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
Some technical difficulties during the recording process. So partly through the recording, Scott lost power, and therefore he lost part of the recording that he was using. He wasn't able to get the whole recording back, so he sent us what he has left. I, too, forgot to hit record on the Skype backup recording until we'd been talking for about 10 minutes. So Now it's going to be like a Frankenstein episode that may jump in the middle. It depends on what happens here with the editing. But so what you'll hear is we'll pick up in some of the interviewee section. It might sound a little lower quality for a little bit, but then on the other side of it, it should sound much better. More like this intro sounds now. So please enjoy. It's a really good episode. It's really fun.
It was a really fun conversation. I think there's plenty of good laughs in here and some good insights as well.
But enjoy the show.
Never thought of making a plan, just make the most of my station. Never made a plan at all, about factions and divisions. Some seek complacency, some seek division. Navigating a day, it always instincts my contrition. For it all, for it all. I beg your pardon, not at all. For it all, I beg your pardon, not at all. Expectations have no currency. Just wasted into motion. Hesitation, wait and see. Just wasted into motion. Not content with making a plan, just make the most of my station. Never made a plan at all, about factions and divisions. Some seek complacency, some seek division. Navigating a day, it always instincts my contrition. For it all, for it all. I beg your pardon, not at all. For it all, I beg your pardon, not at all. Expectations have no currency. Just wasted into motion. Hesitation, wait and see. Just wasted into motion. Expectations have no currency. Just wasted into motion. Hesitation, wait and see. Just wasted into motion.
So we're here with Scott from Totally Slow, and it's funny because Dylan and I we message back and forth like all day long about various different things. And when I was telling him we were talking to you, and about what album and all the stuff we're going to be talking about, we kept referring to you as like Totally Scott. It's funny, we've kind of danced around each other in like the same circles for a couple years now. I was trying to remember if I've ever seen Totally Slow live. The only thing I could think of was maybe at Fest, but I'm also not 100% sure.
We've done that with a few North Carolina bands, though. I feel like where we've been like aware of them, and it's just never lined up to where we would see them, because I feel like it was a long time before we saw All Right.
Yeah,
we didn't see All Right until we saw them at Fest. We didn't even see them in North Carolina, so it's just one of those you just never line up for some reason.
How long has Chuck been in the band? I definitely thought he'd been in it for a minute, because then I read an interview you did with another site, and it was talking about the lineup changing, and the way it was worded, it made it sound like Chuck had just joined too. I was like,
yeah.
I don't think that's true.
No, Chuck didn't do this one. Yeah. No, we changed bass players, and now we're kind of like just playing it by ear, because Kate was playing with us for the last 2 years, and she hasn't been able to do this next run of things. So we did everything in September as a 3-piece. Chuck just went to bass, and that actually works great. But for this next run and then November run, and then who knows going forward, we've got Eddie Sanchez from Chapel Hill playing bass, and he's like a real musician. So we're all trying to keep up. He plays in he was in that band Fin Fang Foom, and he's in the Love Language, and like so he's in like a lot of different things. But this will be his first kind of run of stuff with us.
Yeah, that's cool. I think I've seen Love Language live. I feel like I have. I don't remember 100%, but been to a lot of shows.
Yeah. That seems to be your thing with a lot of bands. You don't really know.
Yeah, I don't remember. Maybe it's because I didn't like them that much. And no, yeah, it's exciting. The record, like I feel like I saw this record talked about more online than in the last couple albums. I don't know if I guess that PR is really like actually showing.
It does work, and I think too. I mean, the second album, which I think is I really love that album, but I don't know, it was released at a weird time. I feel like we kind of dropped the ball on pushing it properly. We just kind of put it out there and let it sit, and that's pretty much what it did. So yeah, this one's definitely got more heat on it. We had a couple of, like the Laura Jane Grace thing was like crazy. She just sort of randomly started saying that we were great, and that got picked up, and then it's just random shit helps.
Yeah I mean, one of the biggest punk celebrities, for lack of a better word, is like telling people your band's great. Like that's only going to help.
It definitely helps. Yeah. I woke up with like a million Twitter alerts, and I was like, did I get fucking canceled today? Like what did I say? I thought it was something terrible. But yeah, that was cool. That was a good day.
Now we need the Eve 6 guy to retweet you.
Well, he did. He did.
That's right. I remember. I did see that conversation. Yeah. What was it over? Yeah. It was.
It was like I just tagged him and posted one of our first single videos. Oh, and I was like, what do you think? And he redid it and said, this is fucking sick. I love it. So that goes into the like review pile, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That should be like printed on your next record.
What a weird fucking timeline we're in, where you even just mentioned that guy. Like, what is happening? I don't even understand.
So, long-time listeners in the show will know I've been defending Eve 6 on this show for years before his Twitter explosion. So,
sure,
I'm a real one from 98 or whatever year that record came out.
Yeah. I like to think that we contributed to his success.
It was mostly you guys.
Definitely, we definitely planted the seed.
Without you guys, there's no resurgence of Eve 6, and there's no Spinning Out podcasts. We've determined.
Yeah. See what else we can inspire.
Good. This is going to get us in so much trouble. You have no idea.
I think he would appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, I remember when the record came out. I think we're in a really cool period for like independent DIY style, type music, because like it in the last 2 years, since basically 2020 and everybody being forced in their homes and just staring at their phones all day, it seems like everybody's like looking at new bands like crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And the playing ground as far as who's able to sort of do the big tours and stuff, that got leveled a little bit because nobody was able to do that. So that's kind of like, we're playing as many shows as the Rolling Stones are right now. A year ago, it was like no competition in that regard. It was good. I mean, it was bad. We couldn't do it, but
right.
We're not in a place in our lives where we can I can't just like check out and fuck off for 2 months and play shows. Like I can't do it. So, we're doing these spurts. We're doing this 5 whatever day thing tomorrow, and then we're doing it again going north next month. So
yeah, I mean it's perfect for now. Like it's definitely like not as much, I don't know, competition. Like even though the shows are back, sort of, they're not as frequent, I feel like, and they're not as I don't know. They're all like happening on the weekends. It seems like even like
that's a good
bands.
start. Yeah. And I mean, I'm still waiting to see because I felt like it was getting oversaturated to the point where, and sounds elitist, I guess, but there was just no curation going on. It's just like every band gets to play all the time, everywhere. It's like, well, I'm not going to go to anything. Like there has to be some curation or standard of something going on. I know around here it was just like these small venues are like, why is anybody coming to our 7 shows a week? You know, it's like,
because it's too much. Plus,
yeah,
we are still in a pandemic, so there's a fraction of the
Yeah.
audience out there that doesn't want to go to
Right.
shows still.
yeah. I mean, right before all that, kind of where we're at. So I'm hoping, probably mistakenly, that some of those standards will change. But it's still, we're still playing shows where there's 4 or 5 bands. It's like,
Yeah.
they still start at 10 o'clock at night. Like it's still, there's all these things that I was thinking, hopefully we could like shift a little bit, but
Yeah, we gotta kill punk time.
I know
That's-
it sucks.
Some of us have to work in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
So the record came out on Refresh Records, who we're
Mhm.
fans of that roster over there.
Yeah.
How's it been working with them?
Awesome. He's done very, very easy. A lot of the same kind of basic structure that we had with the other labels that have put out our other records. He had a little more, I think he has a little more resources, like we said, for PR and for merch and things like that. Everything was a little more official, but it was great. I have no complaints. Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
It's a good label.
yeah.
Good label, good bands on there for sure. People
Yeah.
we know as well.
We get to meet a couple of them. We're playing with them on the same bill at Fest, so
Yeah.
I get to see Bitch Seat and Hit Like a Girl.
Yeah. They've had a good year of records as well. So I'm glad the record's doing well, and excited that you got Fest coming up. So I'll definitely make an effort to actually try and come see you guys at some point. It's kind of ridiculous that I haven't. I may have. That's the weird part.
I guess Charlotte would be the most make sense for you, right? That would be the
Yeah, that's probably Charlotte Greensboro. Hickory's a weird spot where it's basically like an hour from everywhere, so
okay.
hour and a half. So I can go anywhere and see you.
Together that Hickory Fest, man. We'll come.
Yeah. Cool. So let's get into the rest of the format of the show. So premise of our show is we assign our guests a year and they choose one punk, hardcore, emo, or punk adjacent record from that year for us to talk about. And before we get into the record you chose, we gave you the year 1988. So what are some other albums that came out that year that you almost picked for us to talk about?
Well, first of all, 1988 is the year that I was 16 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the year I went to my very first big punk show. And that was 7 Seconds. And they were on Ourselves tour. And the Ourselves album came out that year. And that album jumped off the list to me. Definitely not my most beloved 7 Seconds record. A perfectly good record, but and an amazing show, which broke me and turned me into this thing you see now that's pushing 50 and still doing this shit. So I was thinking about that too. That year was also the year I went to see the Bad Brains and Leeway opened, and the Leeway album came out in 1988. That Born to Expire, a hilarious and awesome sort of metalcore thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Leeway, but
I've seen the name on the list, but I don't think I've actually listened to the record.
Yeah. They kind of blew everybody's mind that night. I mean, I remember everybody went home a Leeway fan from that show. Gosh, I mean, I'm scrolling back through this list. Sonic Youth, Daydream Nation. I remember when I first heard that CD at my friend's house. I remember, gosh, and there was some that I was throwing out at you, like Victim's Family, No Means No, stuff that me and 20 other people care about, but big records for me. What a year, especially for alternative rock. I mean, you've got Susie and the Banshees, Pixies, My Bloody Valentine, The Fall. I mean, Dead Moon. It's crazy. What a year.
I was surprised because we've not had the late 80s are a weird period for punk music because it seems like the kind of things, it's a lot of the old hardcore bands for the most part are done. The early 80s bands are done. They've shifted into their new projects later. You've got a new wave of bands that happened post 86. You have the birth of Youth Crew and that type of New York hardcore.
You do, but you also have Fugazi.
Yeah,
I mean, from I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So yeah, and I mean, it's funny because, and we talked about this on the Josh podcast that I was on. about like that what we're going to talk about the record I chose, but a lot of these hardcore bands that always were kind of experimenting in different weird things, weren't just like straightforward, rehashing like Black Flag Damage basically over and over again, and they were kind of spreading out, and some of them made these really weird and with the passage of time really kind of great albums. I think at the time we did not like them. At the time we were like, I want more of the last record. We wanted, I was a dumb kid. I just wanted more hardcore, And so these bands would come and bring their actual talents and creativity to the table. And I'm like, that's not punk rock, So yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if that Government Issue album I discussed came out that exact year. It seems like it was real close, if not that same year. Maybe that was 89, but there's a lot of that going on. Uniform Choice and even that 7 Seconds record was kind of their first real, like, we're just going to be a U2 band now. They just kind of like really leaned into it on that record. So yeah, 88 was a weird year. Verbal Assault Trial. I don't know if you're familiar with that record. I love that's one of my favorite like hardcore records.
I listened to that today because I know you mentioned it, and I feel like I was familiar with them somewhat, and I went and re-listened to it, and I was like, God, this fucking rips. Like,
yeah,
this
I know. Like they're the reason that like I have a chorus pedal. Like that 80s like just little hint of chorus pedal and everything. Verbal Assault were big on that, and Verbal Assault never like broke it. They were never 7 Seconds size like band, but they all they were just kind of, I don't know how I knew about them. They were just one of those bands that I was like, well, that band seems to look like those other bands I like. So I remember getting that record and loving it. And that came out on the same label as what we're talking about, which I don't know if we're not supposed to say it or we're
no, it's a secret.
There was something else. Oh, All Roy Says.
Yeah.
That one was a bummer.
So, All Roy Says actually really, really ties into our record that we are talking about. So let's just go ahead and say what it is. It is Field Day by Dag Nasty. So, yeah, everyone knows the story. Dave Smalley was in Dag Nasty, recorded Can I Say, leaves the band, goes to college, and then joins All, like, after.
Yeah.
And, yeah, All Roy Says. So, I listened to this today, too, just to kind of refresh myself on this record. And
it's worse than you remember.
It is, actually. I listened to it, and I was like...
It's the best example of a thing that existed if you are... of a certain vintage as I am, because it was back when you had limited money and you could only listen to the records you could buy, right? So like you would go to the store with your $9 that you had for that week, and a dumb little suburban kid in Durham, North Carolina, like I don't know what to get. So I'm like, oh, this band says it used to be the Descendants, I'll buy this, of course. And then you put it on and you're like, you make yourself like it because you're like, this is my new record this week. I don't have any more money. Like, I've got to like this fucking record. It was like eating your vegetables, But I never. It did. That was one record where I was like, I can't do it. I just don't like it. Like it was.
It's a weird record too, because like there are good songs on it. There's like a handful of really good songs on here. But then there's stuff like,
did Bill produce that thing? He must have. That must have been when he was figuring that out, because those guitars sound like kazoos on that thing. Everything sounds like weird, thin, papery thin, like not good. And the content.
The content, I think, is like Sex in the Way and Alfredo's. I was just like, I don't like these songs.
This is the year right before the Bad Religion record, where they used the whatever it was that Bill told them to use, like whatever compressor or expander or whatever he told them to use that they hated, and then had to like reverse engineer. So I bet that's why the guitarists sound the way they do, because this is where he's like, this thing fucking rules. It crushes everything.
Yeah. Are you tired of everything sounding like warm and real and organic and affecting you emotionally? Like, this takes all that away.
And they have a weird style of playing too. That's just like, no, you need all the help with like the warmth that you can get, because like they have these
It's
weird.
so technically like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like math pop. It's
Yeah.
And I love like Mass Nerder. I love that record.
Yeah, Breaking Things is great.
Yeah.
It's just re-listen. I used to always say, like, yeah, I like the Dave Smalley stuff better, and then I re-listened to it and I was like, maybe I don't.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You like Dave.
I like Dave Smalley.
You like Dave. I like him in theory, and yeah. And then Bad Religion Suffer came out that year too.
Yeah. No Control was the one that like they used the thing that Bill told them to use, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Suffer's rips too, because it's just like it's more raw sounding than what they would later sound like.
Right.
Cool too. But this isn't a
now
Bad
their
Religion.
thing is just like they're just like such a like state of the art sort of brand. It's so interesting to see what's happened to Bad Religion over time.
But yeah, we let's shift to the actual record we're talking about. So
okay,
I got a couple stats on the album. So Dag Nasty from Washington D.C. formed in 1985. This is their third full-length album. It was released on Giant Records in the U.S. as well as Fringe Product in Canada and We Bite in Europe. The personnel, the liner notes say this month Dag Nasty is, which is hilarious. Doug Carrion on bass, Scott Garrett on drums, Brian Baker on guitar, and Peter Kortner on vocals. I didn't know this about some of the members, so I didn't realize Doug Carrion played bass in The Descendants as well. He was on Enjoy, and maybe like the live record that came around that time period. Mm-hmm. He was also, this is really funny to me, he was also in For Love Not Lisa, and he's on multiple Cottonmouth Kings records. Huh. He's like apparently really good friends with like one of the main dudes in Cottonmouth Kings, so he's on like 3 of their albums writing songs.
Well, I know like Dag Nasty toured with Descendants a lot, and then they just started kind of mixing it up.
Doug also went on to make music for reality shows like The Biggest Loser and Beauty and the Geek.
Did not know that either.
Weird career. Yeah. So Scott, he was new to the band around this time period. He replaced Roger Marbury. He would later play in The Cult, The Mission, and on those same Cottonmouth Kings records. Brian Baker, of course, Minor Threat, Bad Religion, Government Issue, you know, the lone consistent member of Dag Nasty.
Junkyard. Never forget Junkyard.
What was the other one? Dog something.
Dog. Style.
No, that was
he was the Doggy. The Doggy Style thing for a second. Or he was in a band with the Doggy Style guy.
It was called
I think like
Dog Rock or something like that.
It's like a funk band or something.
And Peter is the third Dag Nasty vocalist, following the previously mentioned Dave Smalley, which Sean Brown was the original Dag Nasty vocalist from Swizz. And it's funny, there's been this revival of interest in Sean Brown's period of Dag Nasty. Mm-hmm. And Dave Smalley kind of gets the credit for being on Can I Say, you know, which is like arguably the best Dag Nasty record. You may have favorites, but culturally it's agreed upon. So, but like Peter's kind of the one that's like, and he was there too, you know. Even though he's on We Got Dinkos, you know, he's on this record.
Wig Out is a legit great record too. It's just very different. But to me, like, I just sort of geek out on Brian Baker riffs. Like I I just love listening to him play the guitar, even if I don't like the song that much. Like, I just love his riffs.
Yeah.
I usually love his tone, like, and like, yeah, I mean, he really started going for it on Wig Out, but then Field Day is just pure Brian Baker riff porn, pretty much. Like, it's like he's not trying to be cool anymore. He's not trying to be inside of any kind of scene or fit into whatever. It's just him going ham on the guitar, and I love it. Even though there's some stinkers on that record for sure, but the ones that rock out are, I think they're great. And Peter does a great job on that record too.
Yeah. First thing I like to ask our guests whenever we get to the album section is, what made you choose this album to talk about?
Well, first of all, you shot down my first like 3 because you. Because you had already just talked about those artists in recent podcasts.
What was it? We said 7 Seconds we did a long time ago. What was the other one that I was Bad Religion. We just did Suffer. That's right. We did a whole episode.
There was the Government Issues Crash, I think, came out that year, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great record too. And Verbal Assault I had thought about, but and then Victim's Family was actually on my radar, but I don't think you felt much about that one.
I just wasn't familiar with it.
It's like sloppy ninths. That's why I picked it. Not really. I mean, like, no, like I like Dag Nasty's an important band to me. So talking about any of their records, pretty much up to Field Day, is like legit. I mean, I think I bought Can I Say on cassette at like the mall record store because Discord had that insane distro. I don't know how they were in mall record stores, but they were. And so, I was just like an autopilot after that. I mean, anything I saw Dag Nasty I'd buy it. But I actually they released a 12-inch EP, which is somewhere in this damn stack of records that I could not find. But it was Trouble Is on one side and then 12XU on the other side. But it was like a 45 RPM 12-inch. And it was green, translucent green. And it didn't have a cover. It was just like in a clear thing with a sticker on it. And that's what I got first, and I was like, I don't know about this Trouble Is song. But then Field Day came out, and my friend and I listened to it on cassette, like, while we were driving to the beach, like, the song that's about the beach. And it hit pretty good. I was like, okay, I feel this. Like, I was liking it. But I need to pull it up real quick so I remember the names of the songs.
Yeah, well, while you're pulling that up, I usually ask Dylan, what is your relationship, knowledge, feelings towards Dag Nasty before re-listening to this album for this episode?
I mean, I think it's probably pretty consistent with the majority of people. I knew who they were for being a legendary DC band, for being, Brian Baker's band and his guitar playing. All of the stories of Dave Smalley being there on the first record and then leaving, and then learning about them a little later, and the Red Hair connection. Really, pretty much everything that you mentioned, everything that's really been said previously is like none of it's new to me. It's definitely been one of those bands that all of those facts and stories have been baked in. In terms of like actual time spent listening to them, I would say I'm really only familiar with Can I Say properly, because I feel like it's the record that I always get stuck on. I'm like, I want to listen to Dag Nasty, which is admittedly not something that comes up super often for me, but it's like when you have a desire to hear those Brian Baker riffs, it's so easy to just go throw Can I Say on. And you're just like, it scratches that itch every time because it's great.
It scratches a few itches because it also always kind of scratched the like next Minor Threat records itch. Yeah. Like it's got, okay, what if they got just a tad poppier and like really ratcheted up the production and let Brian Baker just go crazy on the octave chords, But so that record's beloved for that. I think that's a lot of why that record's such a big deal to people, is because it really felt like Minor Threat 2.0 in a way when that record came out. Really
more of a progression of the sound that Minor Threat kind of created.
Yeah.
Than Embrace or
like, I mean,
it's Dag so much more direct.
Can I Say is much more like Minor Threat than anything Ian did after Minor Threat, I would say.
Which makes sense because Ian wasn't.
Brian Baker probably wrote the songs.
I was gonna say Ian wasn't the main guitar player, so
yeah, yeah. But similarly, I mean, I liked everything pretty much that Ian did also because like I love listening to him too.
Yeah,
looking at this now.
Ian Mackay, ever heard of him?
Yeah.
You asked, or you mentioned something about the crazy distribution that Discord had, and I just immediately imagined it's just Ian with like a hand truck and like
on a
just
bicycle.
boxes and boxes of records. Yeah, just like
on
loading
like
the trucks himself.
Like one of those bicycles with the really big front wheel and the really tiny back wheel. Yeah, I mean, like we had Camelot Music at the mall, and like they had a hardcore section of tapes, you know, and I could pretty much just go in there and grab something, and it usually worked out. I mean, especially if Discord was the label that it was on. So, but you know, Field Day would be later than that. I don't remember buying this record. I have it, but I don't remember where I bought it or when I bought it. And I, like I said, at first I was kind of like, until I was like literally doing what the song Field Day is talking about while I listened to it.
Yeah.
And then I really liked it. But yeah, there's these weird, like the ambulance song and 13 Seconds Underwater and all that stuff. It's like, ugh, like they're kind of like weird kind of ballads. Like I don't even know what they are. I don't like them. That's for sure.
So I'm glad you mentioned those songs because like I was listening to the record and I was like, pretty good. Odd Choices, pretty good. Ambulance song. Huh, that's kind of weird.
It doesn't feel like an album. It feels like here's all the songs we have now. Like it doesn't really it doesn't flow. It's weird. Like because like Field Day, Things That Make No Sense is so good, and then Ambulance song is like, and then it's and then there's like a couple of weird covers thrown in. And then they redo Under Your Influence, and they're like mean in it, kind of like they kind of make fun of Dave Smalley or like the way they did it before. It's like, I mean, you got to think I don't know how old they were when they made this record, 22 or something probably. Like they weren't old, they weren't men yet. They were still like, and you really get the vibe that they were trying to just really go for it. Like we want to be a big band, and part of that is we need to be shitty to our legacy or something. I don't know. Because, like, even I've Heard, like, is listed as a track when it's, you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's like a weird little skit where they just, like, make fun of, they just shit on Can I Say, basically. And then they redo Under Influence, and then during the, like, sort of breakdown scat thing that they're just being like bullies to themselves. It's so weird. It's like that thing we did before that most people like, that sucks, and you should get into this.
You should get in
fucking you need to put on the Ambulance song and fucking chill out, because that's where it's at right now. And it wasn't. They weren't right about that. But also that label Giant was like the label that all those bands tried to do this on, you know. But I think Verbal Assault Trial is on this Giant too. But they scooped up a lot of DC bands. They had Government Issue and Marginal Man.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about Giant, so like I went and looked a little bit of their history, and at first I thought it was the Warner sublabel Giant Records.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is a confusing thing. But there were actually two Giants at the same time.
This one's the sub-label of Dutch East India Trading.
Right, yeah.
Which we talked about with the Naked Ray Gun record, Throb Throb.
Yeah.
Which, at that time, I was like, what is this label? Like, I'm not even super familiar with that label.
Yeah.
I know it's like a lot of
a lot of that stuff. Yeah, a lot of Chicago stuff, and I think Government Issue U was on that label too. It's on Dutch East India too. So.
And some some Sonic Youth is on there too. Early Sonic Youth. Strange. Label.
Very strange. But then if you look at like when I first went to look at Giant's roster, I was like, Tone Loc or something. I don't remember what it was. It was something like, I was like, there's no way Dag Nasty and Tone Loc on the same label. But like this Giant, I think only put out 6 or 7 records, right? They only put out like Marginal Man and
they had a couple. It was like, let's see, I had it actually pulled up with all the releases. They even had their own sub-label too, which is it's like
sub-label of Giant.
Yeah, so it's like a sub-label of a sub-label. They had Wishing Well Records was their sub-label.
Oh yeah, Wishing Well.
So like,
I have stuff on Wishing Well. I'm sure that name.
There's like a live 7 Seconds record.
Boy, that was not a good one. I remember that one.
Cabaret like Voltaire.
30 minute reggae breakdown in 99 Red Balloons. Man, bless all their fucking hearts though. They didn't know what they were. All those bands, Circle Jerks, 7 Seconds, whatever. All those bands had these great brands. They could tour all over the country, and hundreds of people would come, and they were all totally broke. Like they weren't making it at all. They were in this full-time thing that was hugely affecting thousands of people. And I guess they were like, well, there's got to be a way to sort of take this up another notch so that we can actually not work at Arby's when we get back to Reno or whatever.
Yeah.
So you gotta, I mean, I was really thinking about this Field Day record and how they really take a shit on themselves for some reason. All Ages Show, that's a really good song. That's like a quintessential Dag Nasty song. Yeah.
I was listening to this record. Unfortunately, this is not streaming anywhere as far as I can tell.
That's another weird thing about all those labels from that period. They're all that shit is gone. You can't find that 7 Seconds live record on anything. You can't find Government Issue U on anything. It's all just like rotting in a warehouse somewhere, I guess. I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, like it's probably dead stock at like a Tower Records warehouse somewhere, on CDs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's like no master that exists of this record anymore.
No, they probably taped Funky Cold Medina over it.
Right. So the only thing, even if you did upload it, it's going to be the same. It's just going to be like somebody rips a CD.
It's as good as the YouTube version. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's two YouTube full, the whole album in one video, and one is way worse than the other too.
And one says high quality. There's a high quality one. That's all.
Yeah, that's the one I listened to.
I listened to the one that said best
Good
quality.
Choice. Yeah, that's what I listened to.
I compared them too, just to be like, which one does sound better, and it is the one that said that it's the best quality. So.
Yeah, the advertising was right on that one.
But I was looking too. I was like, this record feels long, and it's like a 46-minute album, but it also, because like the version that's on YouTube is the CD version, which includes 4 bonus tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the record ends on 16 count, which is like him doing that animal impersonation from the Muppets.
Yeah, and that's when it really feels like, okay, did you guys just not have a record ready? Like, we've got 27 minutes, and he's like, well, I have that thing I do where I'm mean to Dave Smalley. I could do that for 15 seconds.
We could play that one song. Like, we could play
we could read
the
you under your
intro
influence.
to La Penita as a different song. 13 Seconds Underwater. Because those 2 songs messed me up. I was like, this song's really long. And then my tracks were off for I write notes for the album, and I was off on every single song. I thought 13 Seconds Underwater and La Penita was one song because it sounds like the same song.
Yeah.
And then, so I had the song titles wrong on everything down because I was off by a track because they blended it together.
They spell Matt out for you repeatedly in the song Matt.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of it that makes
that's where I think I caught it. I was like, this doesn't sound like Dear Mrs. Tuma.
Yeah.
I
like
Under
that
Your
song.
Influence is the
I
one
like
that actually I really caught it Because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this song's typical. Why do they keep saying under your influence? And or no, Matt was saying under your. That's the order I had it in.
And like
Yeah, I was
really
thrown
too. I mean, I gotta say, Under Your Influence, that was a retread that did just. There was no reason. There's no purpose for it at all. It's like, let's redo it and show them how much worse we can do it now, kind of.
And what sucks is like they on the CD version they include these 4 other tracks. One of them is Never Green Lane. I could have done without that one. That was like the German bonus track or something.
Yeah.
But like You're Mine and All Ages Show and 12XU, I was like, why didn't you put You're Mine and All Ages Show on the album?
Why? I know.
They had to make room. Brian was really adamant that they put his Dire Straits songs on here.
I think you're right. Yeah.
That's what Ambulance Song sounds like to me. It sounds like it has like a straight up Mark Knopfler solo at the end of that song.
Yeah, it really is.
I understand you. You got a problem. Now understand me. It's your problem, not mine. To find a reason. Don't ask me. Don't ask for a reason to live your life. Shake your head, left and right. Like the old man comes here every night. What does he hear in this kind of music? Why don't you ask him? Find out what you need to know. All in your show. You haven't lived all there is to live. How old is old? How old is old? All in your show. How old is old? All in your show. I get the feeling I've heard all
I love
this
it.
before.
I don't care. It's all right. It's all right.
I mean,
It's all right,
those
man.
other songs were released on like the 12-inch EP and like a 7-inch. I think that was the.
Yeah, so I have that 12-inch EP, and I'm trying. So All Ages Show was released as a 7-inch. And yeah, that's so weird that they didn't put it on the record because it's like that's the hit.
Yeah,
That's the
Well,
one. I mean, that's
and they chose the first track, "Trouble Is," to be like the lead single, and I'm like, this is a weird song to make a single. Like it's fine. I don't dislike the song, but it's not Dag Nasty.
It's not the it's not the one that grabs you. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's probably them trying to say this is where we're going.
Yeah, they were definitely putting a flag in the ground on what Trouble Is as the lead EP, and yeah, and you know it's funny because they were dabbling in this sort of snarky. That last thing we did was stupid. They even did a little bit of that on Wig Out. Like there's a little bit of that. There's a tude. There's definitely some tude going on there.
Is it Peter? You know, because he's the common.
Yeah, I know,
denominator
and he
there.
probably wrote the lyrics. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's funny to think about.
Brian is really complimentary of Peter. Like I saw something like in 2009 where he was like, I want to do another record with Peter because I think he was the best lyricist in Dag Nasty. Which I was reading the lyrics and like these are pretty good lyrics, like especially for
they are
hardcore stuff. Like Field Day the song rules, like just lyrically.
Yeah.
So like I see that. But then also they never did record a record with Peter. So it's like
no.
That's 2009 he said that. It's like,
No, then they went back and did these records with Dave Smalley that I don't never really spent any time with, honestly. But
yeah, they did that 7-inch with Dave.
the 7-inch was with Sean, I think. But they did that like Minority of One and that or Majority whatever, and
Four on the Floor or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 7-inch, Cold Heart, that was with that one was with Sean.
The one that's just like from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That's with Sean. Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's not great.
I listened to the Field Day EPs that Peter did with who was it? The Cottonmouth King.
Oh yeah, with Doug. Yeah, that.
Doug. And those are great. Like I really like those. It's just funny. I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny that I'm like I picked this record to talk about, and now I'm gonna be really mean to it. But like, I can totally listen to this record. I like this record.
Oh
but
yeah.
Stuff on it.
So
that reminds me. I wanted to say like earlier when Justin asked you why did you pick this record, and I really almost wanted to interrupt. Like, why did Justin make Justin made you pick the record.
Why does Justin make me pick this record?
Why is he asking you when he made you pick the worst Dag Nasty record?
Yeah. Well, I told him after spinning out too. I'm like, I just have a career of covering DC bands after their prime when they put out weird records that nobody but me listens to.
I do want to
go ahead.
Sorry, I do want to make a defense for this record because we actually have a good friend who straight up loves this album and loves this record. Our good friend Dave Brown, he hosts One Band 5 Songs, excellent podcast. He loves this record. He like super loves this record, and I love 85% of this record.
85?
80%.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
It's the ones we were making fun of are the ones that I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, I mean, like, you've got a real fucking tight EP in here. I mean, like, if you pull out a lot of it, put All Ages Show on the record. Mm-hmm. Even put the 1-2XU is a great cover. I love that cover.
Yeah. I guess it was because Minor Threat did a cover of it too. They were like,
well, I think that was one of those songs that like every DC band was covering.
Yeah.
It's like Stepping Stone also. Like every DC band did that song.
Which
I feel like there's value in including the cover though. Like I feel like it's you have that, and people that know are gonna know like this is like a DC punk standard.
Mm-hmm.
Playing covers of this song, so I feel like it has its place on the record. Like they're still doing it, you know. It's almost kind of like
it's a bonus track.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not on the LP. It's the LP ends on 16 count, which is not a song. I mean, the actual last song is "Here's to You," which is great. I love "Here's to You."
Oh yeah, that is a good song.
And
I wonder if there's like a fortune to be had if I went to these people now and was like, I want to give all of these albums a digital release. That's how I buy my boat, my yacht, is I put out all the like lost Wishing Well albums on Bandcamp.
You could put out the 4th Marginal Man album or whatever.
Yeah. Like,
start a subscription service. Get all the money up front. Put out 2 of them.
Yeah.
Don't release any of the rest, and then just
the world is really
live on your
waiting
yacht
for like hide some really good field day digital tracks that they can download.
You know, like there's actually really a lot of good stuff on the album. Like I like the Ruts cover too. Staring at the Rude Boys.
Ruts is another big DC band. Like all the people in DC were really into the Ruts.
Yeah.
And it fits.
Sorry.
It fits real good on the record too.
I was listening when the song "Typical" was on, which I like that one too. It has like some acoustic guitar in there as well, which I thought was funny. Weirdly, I got some Spin Doctors vibes, and I don't know why.
Wow.
That's the future of hardcore there.
You know what?
Hardcore with Spin Doctors influences.
That's what Turnstile is doing now.
It is. It's just like tougher turns. Yeah. Oh my god. I've heard 311. I've heard 311 brought up a lot in regards to Turnstile, and I can kind of get behind that, but Spin Doctors might be a bridge too far.
I mean, really, the thing I like about that Turnstile record is like the Casio keyboard sound effects. Like that's my favorite part of the record.
The drum programming is really great.
It just makes that album for me.
There's like one real short, fast song that I was like, this is what all of the hardcore songs should sound like on this record.
Yeah.
It's just like short, fast, and then like maybe like a halftime big riff, and then you do the Casio beat.
Set it to Bossa Nova.
Yeah.
What was I thinking about? Oh, Spin Doctors. Now you've got me on that. Like if Spin Doctors came out now and they were DIY and they looked a certain way and they behaved on Twitter a certain way, but put out that exact same music that they put out, they could be called emo now.
Yeah.
That's how loose that term is now. Like you can apply it to anything.
all the emo bands now look like they're in Spin Doctors. Like just how they dress and like, you know, bucket hats are back now. And
I didn't even know that.
yeah.
Bucket hats.
Yeah.
I'll find out this weekend, I guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're gonna be at the mecca of
DIY kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna see tie-dye sweatshirts. What else? Lots of wire frame glasses, not thick plastic ones.
Right.
the like the brass, like,
yeah, round,
like hexagon, or like the round ones. Yeah.
I'm glad this is coming out after Fest, so everyone can hate me afterwards.
You know, we're talking Spin Doctors, and given our penchant for being tapped into the zeitgeist really weirdly, I have a feeling I'm gonna like be looking at Twitter tomorrow morning. Yeah. And Spin Doctors is gonna be like the new Eve 6 guy. He's just gonna be tweeting all the time.
Hey, I'm gonna say it
Spin
now.
Doctors guy is gonna be like fucking starting beefs with like the Marcy's Playground guy or whatever. I can't even. Was that what the band was called? I don't even remember.
Yeah. I will say, I remember checking out a copy of Pocketful of Kryptonite from the library and liking it. So
that was a very old-fashioned sentence. Yeah.
Yeah, checking out records from the library.
I checked
it was
out
a cassette
Flipper
too.
record from the library in middle school.
Which one?
I don't remember.
Was it Gone Fishing? We got yelled at for not liking Gone Fishing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like...
No, I don't remember.
All of our early negative reviews were mad at us because we didn't like Flipper or... what was the other one? MDC.
Yeah.
Nobody loves MDC, really.
No. They just had some cool artwork and a cool...
Yeah,
like...
they were everywhere early.
Yeah.
And... It's like, let's just shit on every classic, beloved.
Justin's plan backfired big time. He's like, let's do Dag Nasty. That's one of those big bands that we haven't done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, damn it, it's not on any streaming service? Why? Oh, no, this is why. It's on a label that nobody remembers.
Yeah.
It's a record nobody likes.
Went to a band that's a label that they were like, all right, we've done what we can with Discord, like the greatest label of all time. Let's go to this other thing that, I mean, who even was that? Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
It was a sub-label of a big label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of a weird big label.
A weird big label. There were a lot of those. Yeah, I was thinking about Caroline Records. Do you know that label?
That's where like all the Misfits stuff was, right?
I think so, maybe later, and then but it was like the Dead Milkmen and Agent Orange later stuff, and like Tiffany. Like it was. It's just really interesting how the industry worked back then.
Tiffany's post mall pop material.
No, I think it was like
the biggest
pop material. Yeah, I mean, like I might be mistaken, but it's funner not to look it up, isn't it?
No, why would we?
So Caroline was I looked it up, was a subsidiary of Virgin.
Oh, really?
They did some pretty big stuff, but it's weird because it's like they have Youth of Today, but they also have like Van Morrison in 2016. Yeah, they did Static Age. They did some Suicidal Tendencies.
Isn't it like This Is the Voice from Agent Orange on that label, I think? Now you're making me want to look it up.
Ben Folds 5.
Ooh.
Hometown Heroes.
Yeah.
US label.
Hey, yeah, you're from North Carolina. Do you actually care about Ben Folds?
I don't even. What does that mean? Like, care about him? I mean, I hope he's okay.
But I mean, like, would you? I've never really like thought twice about his music in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
Other than a lot of people around here like him a lot.
Yeah. Well, he tapped into that he did a couple things. One was he somehow brought this weird like Billy Joel sensibility into this snarky sort of overeducated, like sarcastic guy Weezer sensibility. Like it's like these, you know what I mean? Because it was like it was at the sort of apex of the slacker thing turning into the like everything's kind of stupid thing, and he kind of like went into that. He was there was an irony there that was definitely of its time, and he was definitely very talented at that weird thing that he did, which was like rock out on the piano. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, do I like listen to Ben Folds? No, but I guess I kind of get it. I mean, I remember like we were on. Do you know that band Ass Factor 4 from South Carolina? Did you ever know them? They were like a great kind of proto screamo kind of thing. But my bands back then, we were like best friends with them, and we would tour with them, and we would always get, because they were from South Carolina, we would get in these kind of South Carolina versus North Carolina fights. And I remember having like, because at the time it was like they would be like, Ben Folds fucking sucks, and I'd be like, you, Hootie and the Blowfish are from your town. Like, that's a million times worse. Like, I would, if I had to choose, I would want to listen to Ben Folds. There's no irony in Hootie and the Blowfish at all. And like, I remember that being like one of our funny arguments that we would have in our NC versus SC thing, which is always going to end with us winning, obviously. But
yeah. So to be fair, if I had to choose, I actually would pick Hootie over Ben Folds.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Hootie too.
I don't like piano guy rock for the.
I feel like I feel like maybe there's a couple of songs that might pull you over. I worked in a record store when the first Ben Folds record came out, and I remember being like, huh, because it had a weird like always had existed quality, which is always kind of an interesting thing. And I always wish that I could do it. You know, like when you hear something for the first time, you're like, no, I've definitely heard this before. Yeah. And it's almost nostalgic, even though it's not new. It's new, you know? Like the things I can think that did that were like Ben Folds and like the Strokes. Yeah. Nothing to do with each other. But Ben Folds, like, I was like, is this a Supertramp song that I already know? Like, and it wasn't at all.
I'm always shocked at how many Supertramp songs I do know. I'm like, what? How do I know so many? I did that with Steely Dan's another one where I was like, how do I know like 7 Steely Dan songs? I've never listened to a single album by them.
Yeah. Because you probably know more than 7, I'll bet.
Yeah, because you have listened to The Ride and
The
Fox.
Last month, one of my best friends was in Georgia for a few days, so I went down to hang out with her, and one of our activities was we went to a Hall & Oates concert.
And you know so many of those songs.
I was kind of like, what's this going to be like? Is it going to be like a Bruce Springsteen? Are they going to play for like 4 hours? Like, and I got to say, it was awesome. Like, I knew every song. Every song was fucking killer, and they played for like 50 minutes. It was like awesome.
Wow, they know their Hall & Oates.
It was just hit by. Like, it was like perfect.
They're lucky they had that many hits though, because like in the future they're like, what are we gonna play? Well, I guess we'll play. God, I don't even know the names of the songs. The one with the clap. And
well, a lot of them have that. That's Private Eyes is
Private Eyes. That's the one I was thinking of.
Which is a very, very good song.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that concert immensely. We are way off topic now.
Yeah.
But is that how this usually goes? We go like just wherever.
So it depends on the combustible elements of whatever whoever's on the show. Usually, we've had some where it's like. Yeah, nothing, like we barely talked about the record, but
we've had some episodes that were not tangential enough. I do feel like.
Yeah.
I think we spent an appropriate amount of time talking about the record. So I'm fine with this conversation going wherever it goes.
So we're like, Dag Nasty Field Day, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, so what's the deal with Ben Folds?
I feel really bad because like Dave is a great friend and he loves this record and we barely talked about it.
No, Dave. We gave this record more exposure than it's gotten in a long time.
Well,
even if only 10 people listen to this, it's more than have listened to anything about Field Day in a really long time.
It's it's only on YouTube. Like it's the way.
There's no way to get. Yeah, there's no way to even really know that it's there.
Yeah, you have to know it existed.
Right.
Because I do feel like the rest of their records have like appropriate like coverage. Like I feel like Four on the Floor, Minority of One, like they're on streaming services. You can go find those really easy.
Yeah, those records are on aren't they on Epitaph or something though? They're on like a really big label.
It's Four on the Floor is on Epitaph and Minority of One's on Revelation. So labels that are still active.
Yeah.
So
you just would have thought that some distributor
it's kind of like the Lost record, even though like
channel somewhere.
Which is right, because the Dutch East India like Naked Ray Gun record we listened to is on Spotify,
But it must have got picked up by someone else later. It must have been picked up. Like you're saying, is it Throb Throb that's on Dutch East?
Yeah.
I'll have to look. I have that on vinyl. I'll have to look and see what it's on.
Throb Throb was reissued at some point.
Yeah, it was reissued on like Touch and Go or something like that.
Quarter Stick.
Yeah. Aren't they the same label?
Well, yeah.
I'm telling you, man, this is my ticket out of this one horse town is getting the digital rights to Field Day.
I mean, I guess Peter Kortner can't even get those rights either because he had to start a band called Field Day to.
That's right. That's weird too when you think about it. That you start this band that's sort of, I don't really understand what that band's doing. I mean, you're right. Like they're good and all, but like just leaning into the Dag Nasty thing, and then they're like, let's name it after this album that nobody knows about. I mean, maybe that's why, because then it's like, well, this is the way to tell people about that album is just make a new band called that album name. I don't know.
So they started just as a band to play the two Dag Nasty records songs. Mm-hmm. So like they started just to play Field Day and We Got Dinko's songs. Uh-huh. And it's just real weird to like you start a band without Brian Baker to play Brian Baker's songs.
There's a lot of weird things going on there, but everybody's got to find their joy in this world.
I mean, that being said, I do like the Field Day EPs. Yeah. I think they're really good. So.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
I mean,
I listened to what podcast was he on? He was on one of the like hardcore interview podcasts that I listened to, the Doug guy, and it was interesting. I can't remember. It was the H2O guys podcast.
Oh,
I can't remember what it's called.
Which is his? He's not Axe to Grind, is he?
No, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
I don't know how I ended up on it, but yeah, he was interesting, and he talked about the band Field Day quite a bit on it. But and I had seen Field Day on Spotify even and been like, and not even clicked on it, just been like, I don't understand what that is. It's like a vaguely Dag Nasty looking logo, and then it's called that, and I was like, I don't understand. I feel like if I go in,
it has kind of like that wig out like shape on the
it's a wig out. Yeah, it's a wig out shape and color.
Yeah. Listening to this record, I was like, I think it was them attempting to do like some version of a mainstream Dag Nasty. Like I listened to it and it brought to mind those Civ records. Like it made me think of like they were a hardcore band and then they tried to go mainstream, and so they did like Civ. I think Civ was a little bit more successful.
Oh, a lot more. I mean, they actually had hits. Dag Nasty was never charted.
I think Civ was more consistent. Those records are more consistent. They're more listenable. Like I feel like the efforts to go mainstream here are really jarring and out of place. Mm-hmm. And it's not like it doesn't feel like they are integrated into their songwriting. It's like
it really feels
this
like
is an entirely different idea, a different band almost.
Well, you see this with, and I mean, maybe not necessarily Dag Nasty, but in that time period, like late '80s, when all these hardcore bands were kind of like, we're kind of bored with this style of music and we want to do something different. They all seemed to really, really love U2 at the time. Like U2 really impacted like a lot of like, especially like the posy kind of hardcore bands. And I don't necessarily think that's what was happening here, but I like, again, you're right. Like Ambulance Song being an example, like I don't know what they were trying to do there. I mean, like, was it a Dire Straits thing?
I was gonna say,
Or-
like, what Dire Straits record came out around 1988? I gotta look that up. I own the majority of Dire Straits discography on vinyl, so I feel like I should know this. What am I missing?
I mean,
Were they done by 88? No.
No. Were you able to find any reviews of this record? That would be interesting to read, you know? Like if there are like a magazine, if magazines reviewed that record.
I didn't do my usual diligent research when it comes to finding reviews. I am curious. I did find an all music review, and it was pretty positive. I feel like it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to like speak and type at the same time.
Oh, here's some. I got one. Here's CMJ and Village Voice. This is far and away the best songwriting as songs and the best collegiate LP I've heard this year. Wow. I mean, maybe they really were tapping into something at the time.
Well, I mean, too, like a lot of hardcore didn't even really exist during this time period. Like half of them all turned into like hair metal bands, or they went the U2 direction, like, or they all had like new projects. Like everybody had new stuff.
I mean, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel dishonest in that it doesn't feel like they were like, we're going to try to be this other thing. It felt more like Brian was like, I'm going for it with like what I'm feeling like I need to do. And, because it doesn't directly rip anything off. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Jarring is a good word for it.
It could be too that like Dag Nasty kind of had a history of not like staying around. Like they already broke up in 87.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reunited. And then broke up right after this album came out. Like they broke up in 88.
Yeah, I was gonna say these two contemporary reviews from that time period are glowing. They're like, this is Dag Nasty at their best.
Yeah.
And this, they just broke up. I think that probably contributes more to this record not being remembered, because I feel like if they were getting these kind of reviews and they had kept going, the next record might have been a big record, might have actually been successful. Like maybe not charting, but at least like selling a large amount. And they might have kept this one in print.
Yeah, this CMJ review is glowing as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Brian,
they even
I guess,
love when they go into neo bluesy territory with the Ambulance Song and La Pinita.
I did see one thing that was like La Pinita was like their best songwriting. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's not. It's called All Ages show.
Yeah.
That's their best
it's
song.
Funny too. Like it's funny how a lot of those the way things go in circles, like 7 Seconds went so far into U2ville and became basically like sort of like hippies, you know, and but now when they do their reuniting things, they're not playing any of that stuff. It's like all they're just playing the Crew or whatever. It's like it's funny. It's like that period just didn't exist. Like
for like everything, it feels like that.
Yeah.
Unless you were like a college rock band. Like that's like the only thing that gets to survive the late 80s.
Yeah.
College rock and like what? Golden age of hip hop, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And even then it's not, it's like this stuff was fun. Like that's kind of how it's viewed and not necessarily like their best material, you know. So
yeah. Well, maybe to circle back and bring this all to a close, like I recorded my first 7-inch that I ever put out in 89.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. And I just went back and it's on YouTube. I'll send you a link to it. It's way less embarrassing than it has any business being. Like it's pretty okay, actually. Like I was a child. I was, you know, my
17?
parents like drove me 16? To the recording studio. Yeah, I was like, I think I was 17. I was at least 17 when we were writing it, and probably 18 by the time it came out. It was one side was about was against date rape, which
wow.
I was, you know, as a virgin, I had strong feelings about.
Yeah.
And it did not solve the problem, and I apologize for that, but I did write a song about it. And I think I hit racism on the other side, but Yeah, nothing
Heavy
too,
topics
nothing
for a
too-
17-year-old.
I know. For a like, yeah, upper middle class suburban guy in Durham, North Carolina.
I mean, on the right side of history, at least
yeah.
from the
I
beginning.
am, yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, the record after that, I even had like, I had some pro like gay rights stuff. I was all over it. Actually, that's the only other thing. It's not that bad, but it also, I haven't evolved that much.
Are we gonna listen to it and be like,
I
this
haven't
sounds like the new
evolved
Totally
nearly as
Slow?
much as Dag Nasty did in 3 years, over 30 years. Yeah, that was the 80s. What a time.
Well, I think we've kind of run out of things to say about this record, I guess. I mean, we did that like 30 minutes ago.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, you lost the first half of this whole thing, but you don't even really need it. We've been in here for an hour and 40 minutes. I will see if I can relocate that file for you, though. But
if not, this will be one of those weird ones where half of it sounds like a Skype recording, but we're missing the intro too. It's going to be a weird, like I said, it's going to be an odd Frankenstein episode for sure. Well, we appreciate you coming on and bringing a record that could make us laugh about stuff.
Well, I hope it's entertaining. Yeah, thanks for asking me. It's cool. I wish I was going to see you at Fest.
I know. I wish I was going to. Part of me was scared too because I was like, I don't know if a big festival is a good idea right now.
No,
and then,
yeah, I know.
Numbers went down, which was like, I was surprised with that, honestly. I did not think Americans would actually pull through and actually do the right thing.
Well, I remember when it happened, like the same variant was happening in like India and stuff. It kind of did the same thing. Like, I think it just burns through the population so fast that it just drops off eventually because it runs out of places to go. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily say it's because we've been good at controlling it as much as maybe it just ran out of people to make sick for a while, I mean, I hopefully it sticks, but yeah, I've been up until today, I've just kind of been like, I guess we'll see if we're really going to go.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like everything's like that though. I'm just like, I'll wait and decide if I'm going to go to that show. And then by the time I do decide, they've already sold out. I was like, oh, I guess everybody else was more willing to go to stuff before I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very odd point. I was thinking the other day, I was just like, I feel like you don't really hear much about COVID anymore, even though it is very much still here.
Yeah. I think, we just get fatigue, I think. And it's like, Alec Baldwin shot someone. Let's talk about that instead. It's like, or whatever the news is today. I haven't even really looked. But,
it's really funny that you mentioned that because I was reading an article about that story while listening to the Dag Nasty record.
It's not funny. It's a really sad thing that happened.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're not laughing at that.
Just
We're laughing more at the absurdity of just
I know.
Awful thing.
Existence in 2021.
It's
well, I'm extremely jealous that you're going to Fest. But tell everyone where we can. Let's see. These shows will have already happened. So tell everybody where the next batch of shows is going to be.
Well, the next batch of shows will be in November, starting on November 18th or 19th. We're doing Richmond, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Brooklyn. We're doing like a 4-show thing. I'm hoping that eventually we just something more local will pop up. We'll probably pull something together in Greensboro by the end of the year. And Charlotte usually too. Something usually pops up. So
right.
But yeah, go listen to that record if you want to listen to a record, and you can get those from Refresh. Or from us at a show.
Where can everybody follow you online? What's a good spot?
Well, Instagram's probably where I'm most active. It's just Totally Slow on there, and also Totally Slow on Twitter. And that's a good way to get in touch with me if you want to get in touch with me. We've got a link tree at totallyslow.com. You can hit
We'll make sure to include that in the show notes. Last thing we always ask our guests is to name or shout out a charity or nonprofit they'd like to bring some attention to.
I think like I'm kind of focused still on the Texas abortion funds. Though I think our label is putting out a comp in a couple of weeks. Refresh is that we will have a new track on, and proceeds from that are going to the Lilith Fund, and I think that's a pretty good place to start. So yeah, that's where my efforts have been focused lately. Am I still with you? You've kind of frozen up on me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
Okay, cool. That'll be in the show notes as well.
Right on.
Scott, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming back with even after the technical difficulties. And
yeah, man.
I think it's a fun one to listen to.
Awesome.
I hope it's a fun one to listen to. I'd listen to this.
I will look forward to meeting you in person. I'm sure it'll happen someday.